This is your real estate mate with some news. Short-term rental space is extremely volatile. So if you're an investor looking for an apartment because you want to put this on Airbnb because some agents are telling you you will achieve 30 to 40% more higher rental yields than your average long-term rental yield, it's probably that they are comparing 2 years ago. So if it was 2 years ago, yes, that would have been correct. But if you look at the trajectory of how much long-term rental prices have increased by an average of 20%, and it's different from area to area. Some areas have increased by even more. It almost doesn't make sense to have your apartment on short-term rent, because then you have to depend on not only the occupancy rates, but also the average daily rate. I have looked at the numbers and I'm going to show you the numbers, and it almost seems like in some locations, short-term rental achieves you about 20,000 dirham a year more than long-term rent, but also not guaranteed. There's also a few good things about having your property on short-term rent. It is more flexible in terms of selling and leasing and all of those things. So the first article we're looking at is Shift Take. Dubai's ever-growing tourism sector makes short-term rentals look like easy money, but operators warn that this is far from true. Essentially, Blue Ground is one of the world's largest short-term rental companies. And in 2022, Dubai Tourism partnered with Airbnb, and they made it easier for people to get licenses to put their units onto short-term rent, or even issuing licenses for companies to open up short-term rental companies. However, new players can be sabotaging the game. There is over 20,000 operators, 21,000 short-term rental holiday home companies registered. A majority of those companies have been set up over the last 24 months, which is just crazy. Short-term rental is hospitality. Hospitality and Dubai are synonymous. It goes hand in hand. Now, out of the, plethora of short-term holiday home companies that you have to choose from, you might look at their fees. Who's charging me less? But you got to ask yourself more in-depth questions about that company. Do they have hospitality backgrounds? Have they operated in the hospitality sector before? There's a reason some hotels do better than others, because the good hotels knows how to operate a hotel when it comes to experiences that they create. And it's no different for Airbnbs. Airbnb, as the landlord and the operator, you guys are in a partnership, and you need to create an experience so that the review can showcase how people have experienced living in the space that you are providing, which will then inevitably increase your occupancy levels and then increase your profitability. But if you're not choosing the right partner, you might think Airbnb is not good, and not all locations are good. Not all type of units are good. You need the right operator. Just a disclaimer, I don't get paid by this company to talk about them. I'm a real estate broker here in Dubai. If you need real estate broker advice, there's a link in the description that takes you to my calendar for 30 minutes so that we can discuss the investment opportunities that are real and that are in Dubai. I don't get paid by them. I just love the way that they execute the information, how accessible they make it, and how good they are at doing what they are doing. So essentially what I wanted to show you is the information that they share with us. They share general real estate, transactional information, and then also key pieces of information that is important to international buyers just like yourself. So this showcases a few top cities in the world and where you get the best value for money. For 1 million US in Hong Kong, you get 237 square feet. In New York, you get 366 square feet. I think in Las Vegas, you get the most value for $1 million, and that's around 2,000 square feet. in that desert. In a different desert, in Dubai, you get around 980 square feet. Barcelona, for $1 million rather, you get 1,184 square foot of property. I will put a link to this document in the description of this video, so we're going through it very fast and you can go through it on your own time. Investing in Dubai, a location guide, is something that I found very insightful because AirDXB manages thousands of units in Dubai. They've got significantly better insight than most of the operators who've only been operating here for the last 5 years. I think AirDXB has been operating here for 12 to 14 years in this space. So they've got really good insights, and that's why I trust them with my referral business. So if somebody is thinking about buying an apartment for short-term let, there's nobody else that I would rather you work with. So beachfront developments is the #1 location where your short-term rent will perform at its best. Areas like Dubai Marina, Palm Jumeirah, J1 are highly sought after for their stunning views, the walkability, the beach. If you think about Dubai, you think about these locations. The new cities within a city is Dubai Creek Harbour, where I live. So that's the second on their list. Downtown Dubai, those two are sort of the same style. I just like Dubai Creek Harbour better for its walkability and accessibility to everything that you really need. That's a personal preference. Quiet family communities. Ranches, Dubai Hills Estate is third on their list for short-term rentals. And then top luxury locations is Emirates Hills, Jumeirah Golf Estate. So those are the few areas if you wanted to do short-term rental and you live in these areas or you want to buy in these areas, you can consider doing short-term rental in those locations through AirDXB because they know what they're doing. Probably the most interesting slide here is the short-term versus long-term leasing, and they've given us a couple of locations that they just mentioned on that list so that we can compare long-term versus short-term, and then based on this you can say this is worth it to you or not. So in Jumeirah, in J1, the average cost for one-bedroom apartment is 2.7 million. On short-term you can get 182, long-term you can get 150. I don't feel like that is worth it to me. I don't know, let me know what you feel. I don't think 30,000 dirham, maybe 30,000 dirham is good enough for me for the risk of the average daily rate that gets influenced with all the other availabilities and then also the occupancy level. Dubai Creek Harbour, where I live, average one-bedroom apartment 1.7. I've got apartments handing over now for 1.5, 1.55. We can close at 1.450. And then you're getting 139, so it's 140,000 versus long-term rent of 110,000. I think that sort of makes sense, but I've got a bias obviously in place here because I live here. Downtown Dubai, the average one bedroom is 2.3 million, which is very, very realistic. 182,000 on short term, 142 on long term. I think that makes a lot of sense to go that route. In Dubai Hills, one bed, 1.6 million. That will probably be in your collectives, which is very small. 137 short term, 104 long term. I will go with short term over there because of the community and what it provides. Dubai Sport City, Dubai Marina, 1.7 million for an average one bedroom. You get 143 on short term, 112 on long term. There's a lot of supply in that location, so I feel like although there's a big difference between the two, you know, the average daily rate shifts quite a lot, and then the occupancy levels need to be quite high. They do offer us the short-let rental advantages, just an overview from their perspective. Being an independent broker, I also have a perspective, so I can see a few loopholes here, but I do tend to agree with almost everything that they say. It really depends on what your objective is for your investment. Yes, you do have the flexibility to increase prices as you see the demand goes up and down. And that's not all on you. I know that they use artificial intelligence to show us the average daily rate for comparable properties within the city, and then those rates adjust accordingly to make sure you always get the most for your money. There also needs to be some human intervention, because depending on the dynamics that AI cannot feel and experience in Dubai, I feel the human intervention, which they also offer, will then be in a position to adjust those rates up or down, depending on what's happening in the area. But that technology is so well integrated. It also takes into account all of the events that are happening in Dubai at the World Trade Center, all the world events that happen, and that's just some great technology that they've implemented. You do have that advantage of adjusting your price up and down based on the peak season, based on the demand. You also have the opportunity to sell that unit almost immediately, which is different to long-term rent. Long-term rent, you need to give your tenant a 12-month notice, and then you can only sell the property, and you're only allowed to give that notice if you are going to sell it. You can't give notice because the rent is too low and the market has increased and now you want more rent. You can't give notice for that. If you give notice for that, then you have to leave the apartment open for 2 years. You can't rent it out again. It's a bit more difficult on the long-term side, but you've also got guarantees on the long-term rental side. So it's just about what your objective is and which tool we are going to use to reach that objective for you. I'm sure you found this extremely valuable. I just want to help you make informed decisions when you're buying real estate, or if you have real estate, what to do with it, what the next chapter is. If you've been thinking about short-term rental, I'm pretty sure you'll find some pieces of information very helpful in this video. If you did, please like the video, comment your